She is Florida's agriculture commissioner, the only Democrat currently holding statewide office, and now she wants to be governor. Nikki Fried tossed her hat into the political ring this past week, and the incumbent wasted no time reacting.
The system is working exactly how the last 24 years of Republican leadership has designed it to be. Whether it was the unemployment system, the fact that we are 47th in the nation when it comes to public education, or the fact that we do not have an infrastructure here or affordable housing that is going to bring in the Fortune 500 companies to get better paying jobs, to lift people up.
She's opposed us at every turn. All the good stuff we've been able to accomplish for Florida, she opposes it. And I've done more, I think, in my first week as governor than she's done in her entire time as agriculture commissioner.
Now for our roundtable with our News Channel 5 political analyst, Mariana Mancuso, and joining us today, Antonio Fins, political editor with the Palm Beach Post. Mariana, we'll begin with you. Thank you both for being with us. Nikki Fried, her hat's in the ring. She's duking it already out with Governor DeSantis, so Charlie Crist is who she has to face off with first, and there may be others join that field. Your take?
It was a very bad kept secret that she was looking to run against Governor DeSantis. And we've seen for the past few months, she's taken him head on, bringing his feet to the fire on every chance she's gotten. And so her announcement this past week to join the governor's race has been interesting to see her matched up against Charlie Crist. I can tell you that this is one race I'll definitely be paying attention to.
Antonio.
Well, look, Nikki Fried and Ron DeSantis have been duking it out from almost the moment they showed up in Tallahassee. But before she starts really thinking about Ron DeSantis, she's got to take on Charlie Crist, and particularly, Crist, who's got some pretty good deep roots in a key Democratic Party constituency, which is African-American voters.
Expand on that thought, though. Democrats in this day and age looking for more diversity, and Nikki Fried would seem more than Charlie Crist. Certainly at first blush, some will argue she fits more of that bill. A woman who's been successful, only statewide elected Democrat. Here you have Charlie Crist, part of an old guard, former Republican. How does that play out?
Because at the end of the day, we've seen since 2006, Democrats have thrown all kinds of different variables in their gubernatorial nominees, and they've all lost. The issue isn't so much who the candidate is, and I think you can make the argument that the issue is more, can that candidate get the core Democratic constituencies out to vote? And that's what I think will define who wins that nomination in a little bit more than a year, and then who may have the best shot at defeating Ron DeSantis, who, by the way, is going to be a very formidable candidate.
It took the words out of my mouth, Mariana. It's going to be an uphill climb, whether it's Nikki Fried, Charlie Crist, or perhaps another candidate who joins the race at a later point. Your thoughts, Mariana?
At this point, I would say the Democratic primary for governor is already pretty crowded between Crist and Nikki Fried. And I think that when we look at the Crist candidacy and Nikki Fried collectively, there's a lot of experience there, but Charlie Crist is going to have to reintroduce himself to the Florida voters. And Ron DeSantis will be a tough candidate. We know that he's got a deep war chest and he's out there. He's got Trump in his pocket. And we do know, as I've said various times on this program, Florida is Trump country. So this will be an interesting matchup, but we can see that both Crist and Fried are focused solely on the general election. They don't even want to pay attention to one another, which makes this kind of a unique primary.
Antonio, you heard the give and take between our first guest, Congressman Deutsch, and the Republican chair of the Palm Beach County Party, GOP. Your thoughts on they're going back to fight over budgets, election reform remains a huge tussle. It's going to be a long summer and fall of debate. Your thoughts, what you heard?
Look, on the budget, and particularly the American Rescue Plan, the Republican response has been almost brilliant. I mean, basically, they've opposed it, then they take the money, claim it's theirs when they give it out to folks, and then they blame the Democrats for the deficit that comes from it. So, the Republican position is a win-win. They get the credit for the money, but then put the blame for the deficits and any ill effects of it, on the Biden administration and the Florida congressional delegation.
Mariana?
This is the first time in 4 years that the Republicans have remembered that they are in fact fiscally conservative. And I found that fascinating throughout this entire budget negotiation. It'll be interesting to see what happens because, as Deutsch did point out to us, Biden doesn't have a real strong majority in the House. He's got 4 votes in the House. He's tied in the Senate. So for him to get this infrastructure package through the House and be signed into law, he's going to have to get Republicans to come to the table, and they're going to have to find compromise.
Antonio, Facebook ban late in the week. Facebook said 2-year ban on the former president. They'll reconsider then. It's been a highly contentious issue involving matters of free speech and the ability to stifle political voices, a huge hue and cry across the political spectrum. Your thoughts?
Look, the fact that they've banned former President Trump for 2 years is almost a non-issue. The fact of the matter is that there's an entire conservative media apparatus out there that is acting as the former president's megaphone. The bigger question for Facebook is, what about all the other false information and all the other ridiculous things and all the other conspiracy theories that are being propagated on that platform every second of every day? What are they going to do about that? That's what I think would be really interesting.
Marianne, about 30, 40 seconds left. It is a pick and choose moment, and conservatives argue that Facebook and others pick and choose vis-a-vis their political leanings.
Look, Facebook needs to apply the Brandenburg Standard to its platform. Brandenburg set a precedent among hate speech and inciting violence in 1969, and I think that we can do this to Facebook by basically towing the line and showing the rest of the social media world how to do this and how to give immediate action when people weaponize their platforms, and what we can do to ensure that another January 6th doesn't take place and another Trump doesn't take the platform over and encourage its supporters to commit violence and acts of domestic terrorism on our soil.
Mariana, Antonio, closing thoughts coming up in just a moment.